without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, a big digital round of applause for our very own superstar, the amazing, the very talented, the beautiful Mr. Brad Binder.
How's it going, everybody?
How are you doing, Brad?
All good, thanks. And you, Uncle Rob?
All good, man. Darren was telling us last night that you guys went supermoto riding or something today.
Yeah, we went to ride some motard this morning, so got there pretty early Spanish time. So 9 o'clock tracks only open this side of the world, 9 until 2. So yeah, rode till 2 o'clock, then came back, hit the gym, and just got back in time for this.
Good man. Well, we really appreciate you taking out the time. I know your summer break, we were saying with Darren, your summer break's not really ever a break because you've got so many other commitments in that. So yeah, we appreciate it, and I appreciate it. The family appreciates it. All the fans appreciate it. So we're going to climb straight into it, Brad. Obviously, one of the biggest questions probably on everyone's lips at the moment is what kind of suit are you going to wear at your wedding?
I don't know. What suits do you wear to wedding? Is it a black one?
You can wear your race suit. I tried to do that with Amy. She wouldn't let me, but yeah, you can try.
Don't know. I reckon we should go in shorts, t-shirt, and flip-flops.
I reckon.
Not really a suit kind of guy.
Keep it cash.
Not too sure if courts would approve, but I'll try my best.
On that note, Brad, obviously, congrats getting engaged over the summer break to long-time girlfriend Courtney, and yeah, exciting times for you two ahead.
For sure, yeah, it was cool. One of those things ticked off the bucket list, so yeah, it's gonna be good. Looking forward to what's to come.
That's awesome. Okay, so you're in your summer break. You came back to South Africa for a little bit, had a very busy schedule there. The first of which was taking a KTM MotoGP bike around Kyalami. We've seen all the little hints and previews that Red Bull have thrown out at us. Can't wait for that full video to launch in August. Just give us a little bit of info and behind the scenes of how that experience was.
It was really awesome. It was honestly, from like the Red Bull side of it and KTM, that was so well planned out, and everything went perfectly according to schedule over those 5 days of filming. So hats off to those guys. They did an absolutely amazing job. Well, not quite 5 days, 4 days of filming. And yeah, it was an unbelievable experience for me. Honestly, to ride a MotoGP bike around a track 45 minutes from home is incredible. So I had a whole lot of fun. It was awesome to spin some laps around Kyalami on a bike a bike that's a lot stronger than any other bike I've ridden around there. So it was exciting. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it, and let's see. It should make some pretty cool footage. Let's check how it comes out.
Yeah, it's just a pity that you had such limited time. I mean, you spend most of the time, I'm sure, just setting the bike up, and that you brought a couple of your crew members out. I know Tex and them came out. Looked like they really loved life in South Africa. They didn't want to go home.
Yeah, I think my team were ready to rip their boarding passes up to come back to Europe. But I mean, yeah, it was so cool having my crew in South Africa, showing them a little bit what I get up to when I'm not at the track or not in Europe and ready to race. So we had a lot of fun. Yeah, the guys had an amazing time, and I look forward to having them back in South Africa for another holiday.
So the big question surrounding Kyalami is obviously, is it safe enough to host a MotoGP race? Will it ever host a MotoGP race? Looks like Formula One's coming. I think that'll be a good exercise to judge on spectators. It's so much more than just if the track's safe enough. It's if you'll get enough spectators, will the investors of Kyalami make their money back in that? But from a safety point of view, on a MotoGP bike, what do you think of the track? Do you think you could go racing around there? I know like second last corner could maybe use a little bit more runoff, one or two areas, but generally could be a MotoGP hosting event.
I believe so. Like I said, I really enjoyed going around there on the MotoGP bike. For sure, I think, it's not a massive issue, some of the runoff, but the problem is, I know with how things are nowadays and the amount of runoff they require from each circuit, there's definitely places where they would have to push some walls back. But, the big thing is, I mean, walls can move, but you can't build a facility that can hold MotoGP. That's what they already have. All that they need to do to really have MotoGP there is they just need to make the runoff areas a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. Not all of them. There's just 2-3 points in particular where it's going to be important just to give everybody that little bit of extra room in case something goes wrong. And if they can do that, I don't see any reason why we couldn't have MotoGP back in South Africa.
Yeah, that would be epic. There was also the news today that came out that they're looking at revamping Pekisa to bring in some money back into the community and there and that. So let's hope that'll happen. But that would need a lot of work. They would have to widen that track facilities and everything. So let's hope, fingers crossed. Like I said, hopefully Formula One does come to Kyalami. I think it'll be a good general exercise, and then hopefully we'll have MotoGP there. Just before the summer break, the news broke that Jack Miller is joining you for next year. John McLaughlin asked here, is he excited about Jack Miller as his teammate next year?
Definitely. Jack is probably one of my best mates this side of the pond. Definitely spend the most time with him when we're here in Europe. So he lives just down the road from me here in Andorra. So we train a lot together. We cycle quite a bit, ride a bit of trials. And, I think Aussies and South Africans always seem to get on well because we have a very similar way of doing things. But it's going to be awesome to have him in the team. I'm excited to see how he finds the bike. The good thing is he's ridden a Honda. He's coming off a Ducati, which looks like it's the strongest bike to be on at the moment. And he can bring all that knowledge and all that feedback across and try and help us push our project a little bit.
So a couple of people asking you, did you braai for your crew when they came out to South Africa? Did you give them a proper braai with biltong and Black Label and Castle and the whole South African suite?
Well, actually, I unfortunately I was so busy when I was there. I never had time to throw them a braai. But James Dent, I know, gave them a proper braai, introduced them to Castle Light and biltong and brandy and Coke. So, yeah. The day after their braai, I think my boys were walking, talking brandy. So it was pretty good. I know the guys had an amazing time. So that's the main thing. And it was so cool to really give them the opportunity to not give them the opportunity, but just for them to see how things are in South Africa. Because I always rave about going home and how good it is, And I think now they more than agree with me.
So a question here from Dylan Blockley. Last night, Darren was talking about, how he loved racing with you in Mandalika and he wants to be a bit closer to you, going motard riding today, and he was going to smoke you. So Dylan asking who smoked you in the motards today?
To be honest, Darren did say he was going to smoke me on the way there in the car. But I was fortunate enough. I had a brand new bike today, so I had a brand new set of tires in, and Darren was using ones that he had previously used a couple of times, so I had a bit of an advantage. But Darren did send it down the tarmac on a nice flat out corner, trying to keep up. So thanks for scribbling my bike foot. But anyway.
That's what brothers are for. My brother's done it to me many, many times. So yeah, I'm sure you're used to it by now. While you were back in South Africa, you also had this amazing meet and greet event with a bunch of sponsors. You and your brother just really looking after the fans. Sean and the team from Smashed put on a great event, Lock, Stock and Beer. It really was a fantastic event. How awesome was that, seeing the amount of support that coming home and just having that support? Just, I mean, as far as you could see, it was like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones were on stage, not two little brothers from the Dorp.
Yeah, no, not quite, but I think clearly you were in England. But no, it was absolutely incredible. Honestly, I had no idea the amount of people that would come there to see my brother and I. So I must say hats off to everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who came through to say hello. It was amazing to see. I find each time I come home, my support just grows and grows. And the fan base behind MotoGP in South Africa is huge. So it was amazing. And I honestly can't thank the guys enough, from Smashton Industries, Sean, Tanasi and George from Lockstock. They did such an amazing job. The event went off without a hitch. Everything was perfect. It was 10 times bigger than I could ever have expected, and I think a bit bigger than they expected too. So the guys did an amazing job, and I hope everyone really enjoyed it.
And there's been cries for you boys to get down to Cape Town, and I believe little Birdie has said something about potentially maybe in December. No dates, no venue, nothing's been confirmed yet, but could we have a Binder Brother meet and greet event in Cape Town?
Yeah, it's we had this one in Joburg, which was super cool. But we always have a lot of people asking us if we'd come to Cape Town to do the same thing. So been in chats with Sean, and we're seeing if we can organize something for hopefully early December. We're looking at hopefully that first week of December, but for the moment we haven't got a venue yet. We haven't got anything, so leaving it up to Shauno, and I'll rock up on the day.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it. A question here from Wade Wilson, getting to the actual riding stuff now. What has been the hardest challenge for you this year concerning your bike not working in qualifying?
I think more than just your general qualifying results or results in general, I think the biggest challenge for me has been I've put in so much effort, and I really feel like I'm riding extremely well. I'm as fit as I've ever been. I feel like I've made a big step, and I'm at that next level where I should be able to fight for podiums every weekend, but I'm just not quite getting that. We on a good weekend we seem to be just cracking the top 5 or fighting for top 5. So it's difficult. Right now it seems our position is more based around 6th to 8th, 6th to 10th places where we've been running in races at the moment. And for me that's not where I want to be by any means, but we understand what we need to improve, where we need to improve. And the one thing I'm really happy about is every time we've had a test, or we've had something, or we've had the opportunity to try new things, we have always, sometimes of course they haven't been positive, but we've always left with a much better or much more clear idea of what we need to make the bike work better. So I think the best way to explain it is maybe a couple of years ago, when we weren't as competitive as we are now, you would just throw frames at the thing and throw parts and just like shooting in the dark, and all of a sudden something would work and you would jump forward. But now when you're already at such a good level to start with, you're looking for those minor little details, and you can't work like that anymore. You literally need to see your problem really clearly, and you need to bring something to solve that issue. And once we can achieve that, I think our results are going to be much better. And we have such an amazing bunch of people at KTM working behind us, and a White Power, of course. And if you anyone that met my team over in South Africa over the weekend knows what good people they are, and what a good vibe they are. So I'm confident we'll get it right. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I was saying to Darren last night, you just see and understand so much more when being in the paddock. And, the time that I've spent in the paddock now, the KTM struggles are there for everyone to see, but I can literally see it on the face of, Guidotti, Robuccio, your side mate, everyone. When you're not performing and the bike's not performing, everyone's downbeat. It's not like, oh well, it's Brad's problem. It really is a family vibe, that team. And a harder working team in the paddock, I don't know. I've walked past the paddock, past the pits at like 8 o'clock at night, and that team is still churning away. You're still sitting with a data gun. I'm thinking, Christ, go eat something, dude, because you're riding tomorrow. So yeah, it's easy to look from the outside and say, oh man, KTM must get it right and whatever. It's not a case of that. It's through a lack of trying. I can honestly say, from what I've seen, heard, everything in the paddock, they really are trying. So I respect your loyalty. I respect your your courage, your bravery, and sticking with the project and sticking with a team and the brand that has supported you from day one. So I think, you know, a lot of times that goes overlooked in modern day everything. You know, loyalty is something that we all miss out on. So yeah, hats off to you and the team for that. I was watching your Becoming Brad Binder on Red Bull TV today. I was watching that segment again, and you know, it was very hard, your introduction to MotoGP, because of coronavirus. It just hit. You missed 6 months basically of actually riding a MotoGP bike. You eventually rode it, and straight off the bat you were good. But in that segment you said, you know, it's going to take me a while to really ride a MotoGP bike the way it should be ridden. I don't know how long it'll take. A couple of years now down the line, do you think you've, you know, I don't want to say perfected, or you can use the word perfected. Do you think you are now riding a MotoGP bike the way it should be ridden, and it's literally just the KTM that's a bit of the handbrake, or do you think there's still more improving to come from your side?
Uncle Rob, can you hear me properly there? Okay, sorry. My internet here or yours there, I'm not sure, but I was catching every third word there. But I think I understood the question. But yeah, I mean, you know, the clear thing to me is that each weekend I learn something new still. Or if it might not be massive things, but you learn how to do things a little bit better. And you know, there's a lot of ways to go fast, but there's ways that really work better than others to achieve the same results. So it's always important to, when you're quick, you know, to be smooth on the throttle, not override too much, not destroy your tires, don't hang on the edges. So many small things that make a big difference in the overall race performance in the end. And that's the points that I think that I've really improved on this season. I understand all of those much better, and I understand how to control a race better. And yeah, it's you know, on TV it might just look like a 27 lap or 28 lap, put your head down and go as fast as you can. But the reality is you've got to be in many times you've got to be really saving your tire, or you've got to be so clean on the throttle. You're trying to do things so differently just to not destroy your tire, to make sure you can make it to the end. You know, there's so many things that go into it at the end of the day. And that's one point that I think makes MotoGP so cool, because I think, you know, racing, it's awesome when you do get the opportunity to have a race where you can just absolutely drill it from the beginning to the end. And, you know, there's no tire drop, there's nothing to worry about. You can just put full power and there you go. But the really challenging races are the ones where you have a big drop. You know, you've got to really control things, or yeah, you need to play a little bit during the race. And those are the ones that I actually seem to be enjoying more lately. But yeah, all out, go to the end is also a lot of fun.
So, you know, I said to Darren last night, and you've said it as well, MotoGP is about these small margins now. And, you know, it looks like KTM is so far away with some of the problems, but it's literally tenths of a second. When you're riding behind the Ducatis and Fabio or the Aprilias, what's missing? You know, going in and coming out of a corner, what do you find yourself saying, geez, I wish the bike would just do that? What's missing from this package?
That's the toughest thing at the minute. It's not huge amounts at all. Where we're losing is, it's the strangest thing I've ever had in my career, because I've always been the latest guy on the brakes. No matter what bike I've ever ridden, I've always felt like I could pass anybody in the braking zones. Whereas now, our issue is we brake, and our speed from where we start to pull the brake until the middle of the corner, we're just losing time on all the entry points. In corners where we don't really brake too hard and we just roll, strangely enough, our bike's really good now. That used to be our weakest point. But now it seems that in all the braking zones, from the second I grab the brake to where you get mid-corner before you crack the throttle, it seems that we're missing support from the front, which the only way we solve that is with really, really hard front tires. So that's our first issue. And our second issue is that once we start to put the bike on angle, it just doesn't turn fast enough. we don't get the bike to a point where we need it to go fast enough. So as you know very well, if the thing isn't quite turning fast enough on the entry of a corner, you can't brake that late or you can't enter that fast. And it's just those small points, especially in small, tight corners at the moment, where we're just losing time. And in a race, it's not terrible because I can manage to make it much closer to them. But especially over like in a time attack, when you do a time attack for qualifying, or to try get through in FP3, we see the difference even bigger than during races. So that's our point we need to work on right now. We have tested a couple things that seem to really touch those problems, but then at the same time it made other points a little bit worse. So that's why I say that I'm really excited to see what's coming for us, because the guys have such a clear understanding now of what we need. And, now we can really pinpoint our issues and really try and touch those problems. And once we do that, we're going to be there.
So how much of these problems are like electronic based, or when we were chatting to Simon Crayford a couple of weeks ago, talking about aero, and I know you had a little bit of an experience, I think it was Lamar, where your one aero broke off in contact with Zarco. And you said it was like, grabbing one of those pick and pay trolleys and the thing just wants to steer its own way. How much of it is aero? How much of it is electronics, just traction kicking in too much, or engine braking? What is the defining point here? Or is it literally just a balance of the bike from, the beam chassis to the WP suspension?
To be honest, I don't think it's got a lot to do with our electronics at the minute. I think my guys have done an amazing job on the electronic side. I honestly feel like our bike's working really, really well. The clear thing is we just need a little bit more mechanical help. So I think we need a little bit maybe help with the balance of the bike. But the thing that seems to touch our problems the most is the stiffnesses, obviously, of the bike. But I'm the wrong guy to ask what exactly touches what problem. And I'll just get on the thing, ride it, and tell them if it's better or worse.
So how is it then riding without? I mean, you had one wing missing. I still thought, you've got all this front end issue, too much weight, and I still said to you once, just take the damn wings off, and you were like, not going to happen. You cannot ride these bikes without wings on, because they've, as Simon Crayford said, they set up for wings. So from an outside, we just think, oh, there's a little piece of plastic missing. It can't be that hard. But as you said, it was tricky.
Yeah. The second you start to lose downforce, all your power levels are set to have that amount of downforce. So your wheelie becomes huge, which is the first issue. And the second issue is it depends. If you lose both wings, no problem. You'll have a lot more wheelie, of course. Of course, the bike might not stop as well because you don't have that drag helping you. But at least the thing's going straight. When you lose one wing, it's a big issue, because you can imagine, but you stick one hand out the window when you're driving your car and you feel how it pulls, and then imagine you only have one doing that and you need to go straight, and on the other hand you have nothing. So it just wants to you have to keep pressure the whole time to keep the bike going straight on the handlebars. And I can tell you, arm pump, you think you have had arm pump before, and then you lose a wing and you realize what real arm pump is. Like in Lamar, I remember being 10 laps into my race and my forearm was dead, because you counter steering all the time. And the biggest issue is the bike is so incredibly unstable with one wing, because any time, there's no contact on the front wheel because you wheelie almost the whole way down the straight. So every time this tire touches, the handlebar is always a bit skewed because it's being pulled the wrong way. So it just keeps shaking the whole time like this. So you know how it is when the thing shakes and you've got to pull all the time, it just destroys you. So I remember using my arms. My arms were dead. I remember riding with my legs, and then I was just a passenger the last 5-6 laps. But it's no joke. It's really tough. But at the same time, there's nothing dangerous about it or anything like that. It's just much harder to ride the bike.
So then you've got the struggles of this KTM just lacking that cornering, like you've said. You had, one wing in Lamar. Rewind to Mandalika where your ride-out device just didn't deactivate. You're riding around. Now, explain to us, first of all, your thoughts when you saw an RNF Yamaha come past you with a number 40 on it in the rain for the first time in a MotoGP race, and then how much of your younger brother passing you in a MotoGP race with this bike that just wasn't handling or not doing a good job, how much motivation was it that there's no chance I'm letting my brother beat me? I'm pulling my finger and going, I don't care what's wrong with this motorbike.
Honestly, when my brother passed me, I was smiling in my helmet. I was so happy. I promise you, I'm sure you'll probably remember my first MotoGP race in Le Mans in the rain was a disaster. Like, I had no idea how fast you could go and how much grip there was. And I just didn't, you think you know how fast you can go in the wet, but actually you can go so much faster with these MotoGP bikes because the tires are so amazing. And it took me so long to figure out how much grip is actually available and how to ride. And the next thing, here comes Darren flying past me, and I wasn't doing bad. I was in like 8th or 10th place, something like that, and he passed me. I was like, geez, this like he's on it. So yeah, it was awesome for me. I really, really enjoyed it. My biggest issue was when I was behind him is I had another 6 or 7 guys behind me. So with my issue with the ride-out device, I could more or less match the guys in most of the points of the track, but there were 4 or 5 corners in particular where I lost a ton of time. And the only way I could manage that was be fast where I was okay, and then just be safe in the long sweeps where I was sitting really low. So yeah, I had to just keep fighting to the front of that group to make sure I could keep everyone behind me. And obviously when your bike's sitting that low in the rear, the way it turns isn't fantastic. So you have to make really wide flowing lines, which just makes you bait for the other guys to really just come and stick it up the inside. So yeah, I must say I was so proud of Darren that day. How the way he managed that situation was insane, and yeah, no, he did a great job. And yeah, I think a lot of people don't give him credit for how well he's done this year on that bike. Honestly, coming from Moto2 to MotoGP is a massive step. Coming from Moto3 to Moto2 is like a world of difference already. So if you jump that middle step, I mean, I don't even know where you'd start. Like the line choice, the way you ride the thing, the braking, it's insane. So yeah, Daz has done such a good job, and yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to watching him the second half of the season. I think he's going to wake a lot of people up.
That was going to be my next question, what are your thoughts on how Darren's gone? Being again in the paddock, you see and you hear a lot more things. Yes, there's been downs, but there's been a lot of ups. I've heard a lot of people eat their words in that paddock, and they say it in the paddock. They don't come out publicly and say they've eaten their words, but he certainly has proved to a lot of people that, he's worthy of being called a MotoGP rider.
Definitely. I have no doubt. It's, I tell you, in my first 5 races in Moto2, I never got the results Darren got in MotoGP. So it's incredible to see how well he's done. He hasn't gone and done anything crazy either. He's always been clean. He's done things well, and he's done everything step by step. So he's done it the right way. And as a rider, when you've had a little break, it's always gives you time to really think about things and understand how your weak points and your strong points and where to improve. So I'm excited to see how Darren goes the second half of the year. At least in my career so far, always whenever we've had a bit of a break, I remember coming back stronger. So I really think it's given him time now to understand the MotoGP class, the package he has, the tires, and I think he can do something really good the second half of the year.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more, as everyone here, I'm sure, would attest to. Here's a good question from Johnny Martins. How does the different tire compounds affect the bike with regards to suspension settings?
Well, it's changes up a lot of things. I mean, obviously, if you have a ton of grip, your problems are completely different to when you have none at all. And it might look like we have 3 compound choices or we have 3 compounds, but the reality is, I mean, we probably have 10 different options in the rear. And okay, the front's a little bit more limited. We have about 4 or 5 options. But in the rear, the guys build the tire for each circuit. So our 3 options that might be a soft one day is maybe hard at another track, So it's so different each racetrack depending on where you go. So that's obviously the team knows what tires we're getting. They know we know our base setting very well, and they always make adjustments accordingly.
A question here from Stephen Berry as we get into the last couple of questions. A multi-question. What was your opinion on Fabio's penalty at Assen, and then in general the feeling of them riders regarding the penalties or lack thereof, things like Tuckers in Spain? So it was a big talking point, one that I had with Simon Crayfar, one that I've expressed. The Fabio incident was, people kind of look at it as if it was malicious, or I don't want MotoGP to get to this point where we lose the racing factor. And you guys are going, oh, okay, I better not go there because I might get a penalty. Oh, I better wait. I don't want it to get into that situation. And that's what I think happened with Fabio. Fabio went for a pass, underestimated the speed of Aleix and the Aprilia into that corner, and he got caught out. Tucker's was a completely different incident because that was just reckless. That was really reckless. So, I mean, how is the vibe? First of all, your thoughts on the Fabio penalty, and then just the vibe from the other riders. I know you guys go to all the safety commissions and that.
Yeah, I mean, that to me was a complete racing incident. I don't think it's fair to get a penalty for that. It's so easy to dive up the inside of somebody and you wash the front. I mean, it happens. It's racing at the end of the day. Understand the steward's point that, okay, someone else was involved and it had an outcome on their race, so you get a penalty, which is how they look at it. But as a racer, it happens. I mean, it can happen to you one week, the next week you can do it to someone else. It's just the reality of it. And sometimes I look at some of the penalties and I think that's too much, like some things are just a little bit too cautious, too sensitive. And then sometimes there's huge things that happen with no consequences at all. So I think it's just a lot of, I don't like to get involved, to be really honest. I try to just do my job, keep my nose clean, and there you go. But I think a lot of riders complain because there's a lack of consistency. But I also understand the stewards, it's not an easy job. I think I would hate to be a steward because, there's always 2 sides to everything and 2 different opinions. Everyone's got an opinion, and that's a tough choice. That's a tough job to have. Not one I ever want in my lifetime.
It is, because you're the bad guy no matter what, whichever decision you make. Last question for you, Brad. Heading into the rest of the season, there's some exciting tracks coming up for you and the KTM, Red Bull Ring, Misano, you've had glimpses there. And then also, obviously, the prospect of racing for the first time. And it's crazy to think this because, I forget you were a Moto3 and a Moto2 rider. It just seems like you've been a MotoGP rider for so long. Racing at Phillip Island. I mean, that's got to be one where you really licking your lips and thinking, and if I look at that kind of layout with your riding style and the KTM, there's no reason why it can't work there.
I'd like to think so. It's weird because of this whole COVID situation. I'm in my 3rd season of MotoGP and I'm going into tracks like a rookie. I've never been to Japan on the MotoGP bike, never been to, or never raced in Malaysia. I've tested there. Phillip Island, I've never been to. Thailand, I've never been to. So there's a few coming up I haven't ridden at. So yeah, it's different now, though, for sure. Of course, I'm not a rookie anymore. I understand the bike and I understand how things work. So it makes it a lot easier for me to adapt to new circuits. But at the end of the day, it's just weird going to all these tracks for the first time 3 years after I was last there on my Moto2 bike. So But I mean, on the other hand, there are tracks that have been really good to me in the past. Phillip Island, I think I've finished in the podium almost every time I've been there. So that's good. Won a few races there. In general, the whole second half of the year is normally where I find my feet and start to get results. So fingers crossed that we manage to keep it that way this season.
Yeah, we've all got those fingers crossed. Just the last one, good question here from Johnny Martins with regards to qualifying. We know that you're the Sunday man, and it's very much a case of, I've seen it on Friday. You seem to get up to a fast pace quickly, and then you just aren't able to find that 10th, 2/10, 3/10 that the Ducatis and them can find using a soft front and a soft rear or whatever it is. It's more a case of you kind of already on race pace on Friday already, trying to find that extra qualifying pace to get you a good qualifying time. But then come Sunday race day, you're racing and the others are racing at the times you already set on Friday in many situations. So would you like to see a change up with qualifying? There's Q1 and Q2. It seems to work in many ways, but with a yellow flag rule, it seems to be a bit of a pain because it's hard to now judge. You save yourself for the last 2 minutes, yellow flag, and that's your lap over. Would you like to see maybe more of a super pole thing, or like World Superbikes now, where it's just a complete open 25-minute session, and where you finish on the timesheets is where you qualify?
Well, I think the way we have it at the moment with Q2, well, Q1, Q2 is really exciting for the spectators. For a rider, it's tough because your qualifying actually starts on Friday already. If there's a chance that it's going to be raining Friday afternoon and Saturday morning, you have to put in softs in FP1, which is a bit silly in a way. But you almost have to make sure that you've got time good enough that if the next two sessions are wet or if something goes wrong, you're going straight to Q2. So we already have such limited time to work for the race, and then you have to do all these time attacks in each session. So it's a tricky way of doing things, but that's how it is, and it is cool. It is fun. It makes it exciting for sure. But I honestly I don't see what they could change it or make it much better than it is at the moment. I think it keeps the grid on their toes for sure. It's exciting, and I think the big thing for us at the moment, looking back to Assen, for example, I qualified. I don't know where I qualified, 9th or 10th, I think, on a I think I can't remember the lap time now either. Jeez, been a long holiday. But all that I know is that it was 0.2. My quickest lap in the race was 0.2 slower than my qualifying time on a soft. And in the race, we raced a hard. So that's all that was in it for me, was 0.2 difference in my race, whereas the other guys dropped a second or 0.8 to a second, everybody else. So that just shows where our weak points are. Our strong points is racing, but if we can improve our qualifying performance and somehow keep that ratio of how our races are still close to that, I think we can really be in with the shot of doing something. So it's exciting times coming up for us. We just got to keep focused, keep working. As much as I want to be winning every single race this year, the reality is that maybe we can in some races, but other ones are probably going to be quite challenging. So we need to understand why they're hard and make sure that next year we're not in the same situation.
Yeah, Brad, thank you so much for taking the time out, man. All the comments down the side here, you've just got massive support, not only just in South Africa, you've got a worldwide fan base going. Every MotoGP I go to, I see more people walking around with Brad Binder caps, Brad Binder shirts, Brad Binder hoodies. You really are making a big statement in MotoGP, even though sometimes the results and the performances aren't quite there or reflecting the true potential. But your diehard kind of attitude has really come through, and it's made you a fan favorite, and we absolutely love you. We appreciate the time you take out always to chat to the fans, to chat to me, to support me, my family, the brand. And we can't thank you enough, and good luck for the rest of the season. We are all behind you, and I will see you next weekend in Silverstone.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Rob, thanks for having me on the show again. Thank you to everyone for all the support. It's really amazing, and yeah, it's really it's extra motivation to try and do something good. So yeah, thank you all, and yeah, look forward to catching you in Silverstone.
Okay, like a go make supper now for Darren, Zan, and Courts.
I'm in Andorra and Courts is in SA, so making my own dinner tonight. But no, actually, Zan made us dinner. To be honest, she's been looking after us.
Good stuff. Well, yeah, see you next weekend, and all the best, my bud.
Awesome. Thanks, Uncle Rob. Cheers.